The EU is so desperate for UK trade following an economic collapse in the bloc that Brussels will beg Boris Johnson to extend the transition talks, according to a former Brexit Party MEP. Former Brexit Party MEP Alex Phillips told Talk Radio that the UK risks shouldering the burden of a huge EU bailout if Boris Johnson is forced into extending the Brexit transition. She said that the UK would be forced to pay billions to help fund the EU's immense bailout, after the European Commission unveiled a recovery fund worth €750 billion £670 billion this week. This comes as the European Union would consider extending the Brexit transition period with the UK, according to a senior advisor to Michel Barnier. Economies across the 27-nation EU bloc have been ravaged by the COVID-19 pandemic, with the Eurozone facing a total collapse. The European Central Bank has warned that the EU's single currency bloc can now expect an even worse downturn than previously forecast. The ECB's president Christine Lagarde said the euro economy will shrink by 8 to 12% because of a sudden stop of activity caused by the pandemic. The recession will be twice as deep as the 2008 financial crisis, as Ms. Lagarde said. The bloc faced a massive economic crisis, and one that was literally unheard of in peacetime for the damage it is causing. Talk radio host Mark Dolan told Ms. Phillips, "I wonder if we have the EU over a barrel given the fact that most of the economies on the continent are absolutely devastated and on their knees. They weren't in the best shape pre-pandemic, particularly Italy. So won't the EU nations be so desperate to trade with us that this will oil the wheels of a Brexit deal at the last minute?" The former MEP responded, "It depends. If they force us to extend the transition period, we end up entering the next multi-annual financial framework, which means we essentially still contribute to the EU budget. And don't they need those contributions? And it keeps us in a close orbit, so we would be liable to contribute to any huge bailout." Mr. Barnier's advisor Stéphane de Rink said this week that there are still huge challenges to overcome before the end of the transition period. Mr. de Rink also agreed with the UK's chief negotiator David Frost in saying there was little chance of a deal on fishing being agreed by the 30th of June deadline.